Alrighty, so it's currently May 7th, 11:30 a.m. I have work at about 2 p.m., so I have to get ready soon. And I haven't made a video in about 5 days. So I had a commitment to myself that I made of, building and scaling a freelancing automation agency from day 0 to day 30. And clearly, obviously, it's well, I prioritize leisure basically um over actually doing the thing I said I was going to do, which yikers. Definitely not proud of that. And I'm being as transparent as possible, which is why I kind of just like low key rolled out of bed. And so I kind of look like shit. And honestly, it feels as though my physical state is kind of reflective of my mental state, where it's hardly put together. Not that I'm going crazy or anything like that, but just because, like I said, I was going to do something, and of course, I allowed a fickle emotion to be prioritized instead of using my logic and allowing for that discipline that I thought I had to be enforced to prevent me from prioritizing leisure and, all that bullshit. Which, granted, obviously, it was my birthday along with a friend's birthday, and it was our 21st birthday. So we obviously drank quite a bit. That still doesn't excuse the fact that I didn't do anything that contributed towards the goal that I set for myself within this month. I told myself that obviously by the end of this month, I'd have something put together that would at least allow for me to scale, or at least, do something that I don't know, push me towards actually making the progress that I was hoping to make. And the month isn't over. It's just started. It's barely the 7th, but it sucks that I'm not fully utilizing the days that I provided myself. Um, all this to say that I definitely have a lot of work cut out for myself. And yeah, I definitely need this to be a lesson. And the lesson I'm kind of deriving from this after giving it a bit of, you know, I guess in retrospect, is that there's a reason for discipline. And obviously, unless you have some superhuman ability to manifest motivation at any single moment of time, or you just have the obsession for something, for example, like let's say my goal, I have an obsession with the goal of attaining what I said that I was going to attain, what I set out to attain. Unless you have that, because in my opinion, motivation is a emotion, which I think everybody could agree on that. Typically it's fickle, but again, some people have that obsession, the craving that will push them forward to achieving what they set out. Most of the time though, that's not the case. Not everybody is that fortunate to have the ability to use motivation to their advantage. And a lot of the time, what really ends up being relied on is discipline. And nowadays, discipline is something that's so far and few between. Nobody really has discipline, because ultimately the thing that's going to be needle moving in every single scenario is going to be consistency. That's how you achieve what you need to achieve. You could be a fucking moron, but literally 2 years, which 2 years really isn't that much time. I mean, it seems like a very long time, and most of the time it won't even take 2 years. But in 2 years, let's just say you're a moron, right? Like, if you were really consistent, you put in 2 to 4 hours every single day, hell, even four days out of the week to anything, you could make it work. You could truly be incredibly amazing. Whatever your craft is, right? It could be playing video games. It could be literally learning the ins and outs of a certain card game that then you could be super good at, and then, whatever's profitable, anything. It could be learning a new skill, which in my case, that is the case. It could genuinely be anything, but so long as you remain consistent in your effort, you will attain the thing. You will achieve your goal. Nothing is truly impossible so long as you have that dedicated, consistent effort, and you're not, obviously wasting that time on something that isn't moving the needle. So, yeah, The reason for that is because, obviously, in my case, I was blinded by emotion. Unfortunately, my priorities weren't aligned. I seem to have this subconscious prioritization of comfort and leisure, and I allowed that to get the best of me. Obviously, again, it is my 21st birthday, and was the 21st birthday of a friend of mine, and we celebrated that. But that doesn't mean that I don't have 2 hours within the day to at least work towards doing what I said I was going to do. So yeah, I'm not saying not to live your life. I'm not saying that's not what I should have done, but it does suck, and it definitely is demotivating, and feels like I'm taking two steps backwards whenever I do set forth achieving something, and then I allow my brain to kind of go back on my word and start doing something that wasn't the thing, like just engaging in leisurely activities instead of actually working towards my goal, actually, implementing the system that I said I was going to start making that incremental progress towards my milestones. It could be something as simple as 30 minutes a day. And yet, where was that progress? Where was any of that work? It sure as hell wasn't on the days that mattered. So yeah, obviously setting forth, I'm going to, try to maintain my consistency from here on out, but it just is a little demotivating kind of seeing myself take these steps backwards, instead of forwards, and not allowing myself the discipline to have these emotions that come just as fast as they go, to kind of prevent those. Discipline prevents that. Discipline at least kind of allows for what emotion, because typically emotions blind you. Emotions are going to have you change your priorities, and humans crave novelty. So especially with shiny object syndrome and stuff like that, humans are going to they're going to crave novelty, and they're not going to do the things they set forth unless you have discipline. Discipline is not emotion. Discipline is a state of being, in my opinion at least. Discipline is a state of being, and it's a state of commitment. You committed to a certain thing, regardless of what emotions you feel. You're not going to allow that to intervene in whatever progress you said, because you have an objective, something that is rooted within logic. That is ultimately the goal that you set forth, and that's the thing that you're really set on attaining. Because again, just as quick as these fickle emotions of leisure and I don't want to do this thing, or I don't want to do that thing, or fuck, maybe just a little bit of time. Just as quick as those emotions come, they can go just like that too, depending on how you allow that energy to move, depending on how you take action, or rather, if you don't take any action at all, you'll see how that spirals into some sort of session of rotting away in your bed and not doing anything, and that's not productive. That doesn't get you anywhere. That just ultimately hurts you in the long run. Thankfully, I'm no longer sick, so my voice is kind of not sounding as fucking distraught and like an 80-year-old smoker. Beard's coming in a little bit. Obviously we're super patchy and shit. Still getting acne though. My diet maybe has just not been the best. But it do be what it is. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today, because I just went on a quick walk. Um, After talking on the phone with my cousin, I woke up late, of course. It's just seemingly a common occurrence for me that I'm not going to allow to be the case. I paced back and forth talking to my cousin for an extended period of time. Oh shit. And I didn't really get as much done as I said I was. And just very, very, just a lot of disappointing shit. But I can't allow that feeling of disappointment to intervene with any progress that I'm going to be making. So yeah, today was definitely more of a day of analyzing my current mental state and where I'm going to be going moving forward, and how I need to, operate, as opposed to actually making progress in certain measurable areas, such as oh, okay, I put 2 hours today towards actually researching automation and implementing certain of some of my findings, or actually creating some sort of automations, or doing code outreach. it's nothing that's necessarily measurable, but in the grand scheme of things, laying your foundation is something that is equally as important as actually taking the steps to make these incremental bouts of progress. So that's why I'm doing this, and that's why I'm not feeling as though my day has gone to a complete waste, because it hasn't. I still have a couple hours to do a couple of things. Not that it's going to be like certain like the most you know paradigm shifting and huge things, but they are still things nonetheless that are going to make things easier, frictionless, and ultimately make things consistent. Because you can achieve anything in this world. You can truly achieve anything you set your mind out to be, so long as consistency is involved. And if you have the urgency to start the task and then you maintain with consistency and you make those adjustments where necessary, you're set. You're good. You're fucking chilling, dude. You're chilling, Emotions don't mean shit. They don't. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Just wanted to record this because obviously I haven't recorded a video today or, for the past 4 or 5 days. And that sucks. It does, but it's all good. Shit happens. Actually, I don't even think it's been 4 or 5 days. How many days has it been? Since the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Yeah, it's been 4 days. Damn, bro. Yeah, shit sucks. But thankfully, I'm doing that today, and this is going to be pushing myself forward a little bit more. I have a bunch of menial tasks that I have to get done today that aren't pertaining to automation or anything regarding that, but they both make my brain a little less, I guess, I have a little less weight on them, because if I accumulate so many of these tiny little tasks, I'm just going to kind of be a little overwhelmed, and I'm going to try to do everything. And I've found that when I try to do everything, nothing gets done. It truly is a shame. But that's human for you, novelty. We crave it. Shiny object syndrome. It's just yikers. And even when it's not shiny object syndrome, you try to, again, do everything that you can, right? A bunch of these tiny little menial tasks, even just picking things up, folding laundry, cleaning my desk off, just a bunch of these tiny little things, they add up in terms of the time that could have been spent towards something that maybe pushed the needle a little more forward than, these little things that might have actively cleared your mind a little more, or, whatever. Things that could have been delegated. Not that, I should delegate all this shit to my girlfriend, but there are certain definitely areas that I can delegate to her that she can definitely make progress in that I don't need to do as much. Yeah, anyways. Sorry, again, going on these little tangents and rambling a bit, but thankfully this has been the shortest video I think I've uploaded so far. It's a total of 12 minutes and 40 seconds so far, so about 13 minutes. Not too long, not too short. Sweet spot. Did ramble for a bit, but key takeaways of this video: implement urgency. Thankfully, I had the urgency to set up all the things that I did in order to make this progress a little bit easier. I kind of have a rough draft of where I want to head, what my goals are, kind of the systems that I need to implement to make this progress, and ultimately where my goals are. Number 2, the consistency to achieve the things that I set out to achieving, regardless of the amount of time it takes. If you're actually being consistent, you are going to achieve the thing. It just is what it is. And of course, another thing being number 3, discipline. If you have the discipline required to not allow these fickle emotions of, like leisure or anything stupid that may intervene with progress, you are fine to take some time out of your day to watch a fucking show for like an hour or two, but you need to eat the frog and do the things that are like really going to make progress at the beginning of your day. And then, once you can even spend just 3 or 4 hours in your day doing those really like those things that move the most progress, and then after, do whatever the fuck you want to do, dude. You have the rest of your day to do whatever you want to do, even if that's 6 hours of leisure, like fuck, that's 8 hours of leisure, right? If you're awake for 12 hours and you sleep for another 12, that's a lot of hours. But assuming that, anyways, but it's a lot of time that you have for leisure. So yeah, just discipline, not intervening with any of this progress. And number 4, like, you do need to make things a little frictionless. You can't expect your lifestyle. You can't make the craziest change to a lifestyle and have it be the most hard monk mode shit. Maybe some people can, but a lot of times some people can't go monk mode, and they can't just like, fucking drop everything, no screens, no technology, no leisure, no nothing, no, just straight, that's not the most, what's the word I'm looking for? I wouldn't say realistic. You can make anything realistic, but that's not something you could really stick to. I'm struggling to find the word, but that's yeah, that's it's not the most realistic thing um ever. It could be pretty difficult to stick to that. You want something that's going to be, easy to stick to. So yeah. And then number 5, yeah, I don't know. Just fucking making the adjustments that are necessary to make. You don't want to be, you don't want to go so crazy and have shiny object syndrome and completely change the thing that you're doing in its entirety. But at the same time, you do want to make the necessary adjustments to not be engaging in basically filler, and ultimately engaging in the things that are going to make the most progress the quickest. You don't want to do, things that are completely shifting progress super, super dramatically, but at the end of the day are creating an unstable foundation. You want to be strategic in what you do, but at the same time, you do want to also make the most progress that you can make, because that progress will snowball into exponential growth over the period of however long you give yourself. So, yeah. Um, but yeah, that's been me. Those are my thoughts today. This is technically day 7. So yeah, bunch of days of not really doing shit. It is what it is. It is what it is. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Have a good day. See you tomorrow. I have some time in the morning tomorrow. I do work, obviously, but I'll still be able to put forth some time towards actually doing tasks that pertain to the automation business and actually are making progress towards a route that matters to me. So, yeah. Later, stay safe, and yeah, see ya.